George Bruno with the 21 Convention Patriarch edition of the 21 Report. We're talking with Hunter Drew. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Tell us about what you talked about today.
The patriarch type. Talking about Tanner Guzzi has the archetypes. You're rugged, you're refined. That's what you present to the world. I wanted to talk about what fathers are presenting and the profile and personality of that person, and how as a father, there are types of fathers, and you need to be the right type, the one that's involved and actually getting after it.
Fatherhood is important. It's so important. How many children do you have?
Two.
2 children.
Yes, sir.
Any more coming?
No.
Or is that it?
They won't be outnumbered.
How do you apply that whole archetype thing to your fatherhood?
When I look at my style of parenting, there are certain things that I do that I believe are right. Other fathers may disagree, but I think there are certain universal aspects that overlap everyone. Being present in their lives, being a good example for them to follow, because they do follow our example, not our advice. So there are fathers out there who are giving great advice, but they're not living that message. So I talked about the universal aspects, and in my life, I try to balance what I believe is right along with what I know to be right as a human.
Now, do you have a boy and a girl?
I do.
That's right, you do. Okay, I'm remembering some of your posts about going to ball games and such. How are boys, like we like to say that men and women are different, how are boys and girls different?
In your speech, you nailed it. From birth, the difference could not be more, clear. Boys will go out and climb in the mud and they'll immediately wrestle anything next to them. Or girls want things put together nice and neat, and they've got things, clear, and they'll sit there and have discussions with you. And the boy's like, I don't want to talk. I just want to go do. So, that's from birth, and it's a little disappointing when you see parents trying to push them into the same mold. You've got to let the boys be boys. You've got to let the girls be girls. And, in my kids, my son is 9, my daughter is 6. So he came out first, I'm used to that. And when she came out, it's like night and day. I was like, whoa, you're totally different, like a whole new ball game. So it's been enjoyable.
So there is truth to boys will be boys.
100%.
Yeah. How does your parenting style as a father differ from the style of your wife?
So I'm much more, not brash, but I'm much more clear cut. This is what we're doing. Figure it out how you're going to get there. She's more of a help them get along the way and how they're going to do it. If I say go clean your room, you go clean your room. If my wife says go clean your room, she's going to go help you clean your room. And that's just totally, I don't know if it's the military man in me, but I'm like, nope, put it all away, figure it out. I'll be there in 5 minutes. It's not done. You're there 5 more minutes.
Setting limits for kids. It sounds like you just set a limit. Talk about setting limits.
Boundaries are important for the development of any kid. Any human being has boundaries they have in their lives. You have your boundaries, I have mine, our children have theirs. But coming up, they don't get to decide those on their own because they don't know any better. So you set boundaries, not only on what is right and what is wrong, what you expect of them, the standard you expect it at, but also how they draw boundaries in their own life. And we've got to teach our children that when they're drawing boundaries, they kind of see through your example, hey, here's what I'm going to do, and don't cross that line. So let's say there's a bully or there's something like that. Your children, you've taught them, here's the line. Don't cross it, because if you do, I will defend that. And it's huge, because if you're not setting boundaries, your children never learn how to do that.
How do you go from single man with no responsibilities or married man with no responsibilities to all of a sudden now you brought another life in the world, and what you do doesn't matter as much as mouths have to be fed.
Yep.
Sacrifices have to be made. Children come first when it comes to provision. How did you deal with that?
So I was lucky. I was in the Navy, so I deployed. My wife figured it out. But honestly, you just do it. Nothing will prepare you for fatherhood.
Right.
You can read the books, you can talk to your friends, but what's it like to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and then 4 o'clock in the morning to a baby needing to be fed while you need to go to work? How do you, that thing needs you to survive. Without you and your spouse or the other caretaker, that child dies. And that's insane. How do you make something more important than yourself?
Yeah.
But when it's born, you just do it. You just figure it out as you go. And there's no template for fatherhood. There's no manual that's like, this is the right way to do it. You kind of just make your own up as you go, and you fall back on your values, your boundaries,
I like to say that I was an expert at parenting until I had kids.
Exactly. It's perfect.
Yeah, all the books. They're nice, but it really is the on-the-job training.
Yeah, and that's why it's huge to have a good network.
Yeah.
Because you can rely on people to help you relax. You know, they can take the kids, you can get the rest. You know, they can, hey, maybe try it this way instead of that. And I think with what we're doing here as patriarchs, you know, at the Patriarch Convention, we're having men swapping notes like that. It's where we learn, you know, how it is that you go forward and do what it is you're doing as a father and how you can improve upon that. You know, all the guys are talking, hey, I never thought about doing it that way.
Right. What about when it comes to young men who desire to be married, desire to have children? What would you tell the young guy about fatherhood, the young man that's going to be a father someday?
It's one of the greatest decisions I've ever made. It's what I wanted. I wouldn't change a thing. I knew going in what I wanted. I didn't ask somebody, should I be a father? I didn't ask, should I, you know, reproduce and find a woman and get married? Like, those were not questions for me. I knew that's what I was going to do, and I went forward and did it. If you think doing that because at a certain age you're supposed to, if you think at a certain income level, at a certain, you know, point in your life, that's what you're supposed to do, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Have kids because you want kids, not because you think you're supposed to have kids.
Is it better to wait to have children?
That's a really good question, and a lot of people ask that. I had my son at 22 and my daughter at 25. No. To me, you know, I was a young father. I was able to keep up. You know, I do all their sports now. I couldn't imagine being 60 with a 9-year-old. And there are men out there who that's their situation, and they're killing it. These guys, you know, they're working out. I mean, our health is only getting better.
Yeah.
Our education's only getting better. We're staying mobile longer.
Yeah.
So my story, I was a young father. I wouldn't say wait, but I'm 100% biased, and I'm willing to admit that.
I kind of wish that I had my kids younger. My first child was born when I was 36. And I wish I started younger. I do. I really do. I feel, not that I didn't have the energy for raising the kids, it's just different. It's different. They have an older father.
There's a good discussion to be had there, though, which is with men in our demographic, our group, I guess you will. You know, the men who are looking to improve, they're always looking to raise the standard. People think that if you wait until you're comfortable or you're situated, you're in a good spot to care for family, that's when you should start it. But the reality is you're never in a good situation because you're always trying to get better.
Yeah.
Like, I'll wait till next year because I'm going to do more.
Yeah.
As men, we're never not going to be doing more.
Yeah.
So you got to pull the trigger at some point.
Yeah. 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 If you wait for the checklist to be all checked off before you have kids, or want to wait till things are perfect, you'll never have kids then.
Exactly. And that's one of the driving forces. Everyone's like, well, I want to be stable.
Yeah.
I was an E3, and I was making like $28,000 a year. Like, I was making nothing. But, you know, I was like, I want kids, so let's do it.
What hope would you give fathers?
Exactly that. I would give hope. I would share stories of the joy I'm having. A lot of people talk about the hardships men are facing, and those are real and those need to be recognized. But we need to balance that out with the other side of it, which is going home to a child that looks up to you and you're that child's world. There's something powerful about that. Seeing daughters run to you and forever, you're talking about still, you'll text your daughter and she shoots right back. You know, forever, that relationship, to me, there is something very special about that.
Yeah.
And there is hope. It's difficult, especially with the climate we're living in societally. I mean, it is hard. You know, the cards are stacked against you. But do your work and, you know, just give it the best you can. And I love my kids.
Yeah. Dr. Sean Smith and I were talking about stories, the importance of telling stories to children. How do you incorporate stories, or do you incorporate stories into your parenting?
I do. Through books, as well as making up stories. Usually it's before bed, but sometimes we'll have a little get together and all of a sudden I'm telling it, and it's with an intent. Maybe I saw them face an obstacle that day and I was like, oh, I don't like how they handled it, or maybe I do like. So I'll tell a story, and into that I'll weave a message. Like, I want this to stick with you.
Right.
And so that way when you're telling yourself that story, you know, you're that character, and they get that on a deeper level than if you were to just say, I don't like how you did this, or I'm very proud that you did that. You tell a story and it stays longer. It hits the deeper part of the mind that sticks with them.
I do like that. Stories communicate things that just straight instruction doesn't.
Exactly.
Do you have any bedtime rituals with your kids?
Yes, of course. So rituals are important. Traditions are important. For bedtime, my daughter goes to bed before my son. She's younger. So she'll go to bed, and it's always, she brushes her teeth, she gets her water, she comes out, gives me a hug, go back in there, and then we talk about what we're going to do the next day. And then if we don't have a story, it's a headbutt nose kiss, or we'll do a little headbutt, and we'll do a nose, and I'll kiss her on the forehead.
Yeah.
And then she gets tucked in, and then she gets up, and she's like, wait, I love you. And then she'll jump back into bed. I'm just like, oh, man. And with my son, even at 9 years old, he's like, can you put me to bed? So he'll go to bed. He does everything himself, but he just wants me to go in there and be like, hey, good night.
Yeah.
And then lights are off. And it's interesting. I don't know when that's going to stop. I don't want it to stop.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to see him more and more. He doesn't need the kiss anymore. He doesn't need all of a sudden these things.
More independent.
Exactly. But at night, I'm the last thing he hears before he goes to bed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the parents cutting the meal of their children, and the kid says, I can do it.
I referenced that in my speech. I was like, when you told that story to me, I was like, oh man, I felt that. I 100% felt that one.
Yeah. How have you seen your kids become more independent?
Day to day, incrementally, they're needing less. They can go outside on their own. That was a big deal for my wife and I. Hey, go out and play, and they didn't need us to watch them.
Right.
That was a step. Now they're out, and they don't really ride down the road to their friend's house, but they're starting to go to their friends' houses and do things like that. And you're like, oh, you're not with me anymore,
Mm-hmm.
And they want to have sleepovers. Like, oh, now they're staying away from us. And then it's just these little things, and all of a sudden, oh, I can climb the monkey bars on my own.
Yeah.
Since when?
Yeah.
Like, when did that happen? But it's just, you start seeing them go, and that's the beauty and the pain of it all is the duality of our role as a father. I want them home forever. I want them with me so I can protect them, and we can have this loving thing that we have right now. At the same exact time, I've got to train them and lead them and educate them to leave and be functional adults.
Tell us about the first time that you and your wife were both away from the children.
That's a good one. I think we went on an anniversary date, and we went on a 3-day vacation, and we left the kids with her parents. And it was weird. I mean, you start looking at your phone. Should we call them? Are they sleeping? Should we check in on them? And we did. We're like, all right, everything's good, right? Do I need to talk to them? And it's one of those things where you're not, you're lovers and your parents. You're not just co-parents. Mm-hmm. We all know how that works out. So when you try to maintain that attraction, you've got to go on those dates. You've got to do those things away from the kids. Mm-hmm. But there's that lizard, that hind brain in you that's saying, like, I've got to protect my offspring. Yeah. Where are my babies?
Yeah.
So it's a good balance. You got to make sure you have that, though.
Yeah. As far as having them be away for the day, school or, and that there's other people in charge of your children when they're away. What are your thoughts about that? What are your concerns about that? What are the things that have gone through your head that they are in the care of someone else, whether it be a teacher or a coach or whatever?
No father trusts anybody more than himself to defend his children. Mm-hmm. So there's the aspect of, are they in good care? What values and morals are being instilled in their minds? What message is being pumped into their brain while I'm not there to filter it? Mm-hmm. And we talk about social media. I think that's a huge part is all these people are talking to your kids. What are they saying? Mm. When my kids are at school, and one way that the wife and I counteract this is every day, what did you learn about today? Tell me 3 things about your day. What are you grateful for? What was the worst part about your day? Mm-hmm. And you get to see these, you see their brain, the gears turning. That's a difficult one. Mm-hmm. What was the worst part of your day today? And then they've got to tell you. And sometimes, I got in trouble for blah. Okay, let's talk about it. Mm-hmm. You kind of work through these things. But they are at school a long time. Mm-hmm. What are the teachers saying? You've got to be involved. You've got to be asking. Mm-hmm. What was said to you?
As far as all the other voices, there's a lot of voices. Do your children, are they on the computer by themselves? Do they watch TV by themselves? What are your thoughts about that?
We filter all of it. My kids don't have screen time. They have very limited laptop time, and that's only because I do want them to be competent, being able to that's the future. Mm-hmm. They're going to be on computers. I'm on computer all the time. Mm-hmm. So I allow them that to understand it, but I'm filtering what they're watching. There's no YouTube, there's no stuff like that. If they go on YouTube, it's to research. Yeah. What sound does a humpback whale make?
Sure.
you know, things like that.
Sure.
So when you have that aspect of it, you have to understand that when they're going to that freedom, it's the Wild West on the internet. You know, even the TVs, it's not okay. And you need to know what your children are watching. And you be able to tell them, no, you know, you're not going to watch SpongeBob or whatever's out there, you know, that's not for you. We watch Planet Earth, things like that, you know, things that are educational.
Do they have TVs in their room?
No, God, no, never will.
Okay. They obviously don't have cell phones yet.
No.
When will they have cell phones?
So wife and I had that discussion. we're a little back and forth. We agree when they need them. Mm-hmm. When my son's practicing and I'm not his coach, let's say middle school, high school, and he starts like, I need you to pick me up. And even then I'm like, well, your coach will have a phone. You don't need one. But that's I guess the cynic. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't think they need one. So until I know there's a clear need, there's no reason they should have a phone.
Mm-hmm. Laptop or tablet for the kids? What do you think is better?
A laptop.
Okay. As far as research is concerned, when kids want to know things, can they look things up independently without you?
Yes. But there's a proven track record that I don't walk in their room and all of a sudden they're watching some show or like, it started with, no, you cannot. You want to change whatever screen you're watching, come get me.
Right.
To the point where, okay, you've proven,
Mm-hmm.
so here's some more freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You can look whatever you're looking up.
Right.
You know, you have a half hour. Go research what you want to research.
Right.
But if I walk in and find the wrong thing on, you won't see the laptop for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And they know that it's happened.
Yeah.
So they understand. I'm very clear with what they're allowed, not allowed to see.
What about, have your kids asked you any interesting questions that kind of like threw a curve at you? Did one of them ever say, "Daddy, what's a transvestite?" or something like that? And you're like, "Where did you hear that?" Like, has their curiosity brought them anywhere that's kind of shocking to you?
No. I'm very fortunate with that as well, because I know there are some wild things out there. One of the most confusing things that I wasn't sure how to answer was my daughter asked me, why do boys have man buns? Because she was watching something and a guy with a man bun came on.
Yeah.
She's like, boys don't have long hair. I was like, you're so clearly defined in the sexes and the roles.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was all in good humor. They've not found the weird things out there.
Mm-hmm. Is it important for kids to help out around the house? Help mommy do things, help daddy do things?
If children want freedom, they need to earn it. Mm-hmm. If children want to, if we as parents, we want them to develop into functional adults, they need to understand what work is. Mm-hmm. So absolutely, if I'm outside, my son comes with me. My daughter helps my wife with the dishes, cooking, you know, and my son doesn't care at all about those things. But if I'm like, hey, we got to go rake the yard, okay. And my daughter will do that as well, but she's more on with my wife on those things.
Check the oil in the vehicle.
And that's both of them. You know, I teach life skills, but when it comes to home care, it's more daughter with wife, me with son. When it comes to, hey, how do you take care of things though?
Yeah.
They both need those skills.
Yeah. What about pumping gas? Do they get out of the car when you pump gas?
That's a good question. No, but I used to get out of the car when my dad pumped gas, so I don't know why I didn't continue that. I might kick him out with me now.
Yeah, right.
It's cold, come on.
Something to think about. And you now have pets.
Yeah.
Pets need care. How has having pets changed your life? What are the new dynamics in the household now that there's pets?
The kids have really stepped up. They understand that they're responsible. They get annoyed too. You know, they're learning that, oh, it's such a cute puppy. It's annoying when you've got to clean up and do all those things because they bite the stuffed animal and rip it to pieces and now there's fuzz everywhere.
Yeah.
No, you go pick that up. I'm not picking it up.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're like, oh, now I got to clean my things up. Now they understand why. The second order of events. So the puppies have been a great addition. They wake up pretty early, which is a bummer for wife and I. But the kids, I mean, they're all about it.
Okay. Do you think that children benefit from having pets?
100%. The first time I saw this, we weren't homesteading, but we bought some chickens, and we had, we're not farmers. It was just on the whim. I'm like, let's get some chickens.
Yeah.
So I built a coop. My daughter would go in there every day, check for the eggs, pet the chickens. She would sweep the thing out. I was like, whoa, look, like this. That was she was 4,
Wow.
and she's doing all these things. I was like, this is
Wow.
incredible. I never thought of how, you know, kids on farms mature much faster because they understand I've got to take care of these things.
Yeah.
And that was eye-opening for me.
Wow. What was the biggest curveball that was thrown at you about parenting?
You got some good questions, George. I would say dealing with the different personalities of the kids. In my head, in your head as a father, you think your kids are going to do a certain thing, and they may not. I thought my daughter would love dance. She's always dancing. We put her in dance class. She wants nothing to do with it. And you're like, well, now do I force her to continue on, or do I, because she committed to it, or do I tell her to leave it because she's not enjoying it and nothing beneficial will come from it? And as a parent, you're facing a lot of these questions where you're like, am I doing good or am I doing bad? And before you have kids, you think it's very clear. Even if you have a baby, I need to feed the baby. That's good. I clean the diaper. That's good. I don't drop the baby. That would be bad.
Yeah.
When they're getting older, though, that black and white is so much more gray.
Yeah.
Am I helping my kids by what I do online and by being here right now? Or am I hurting them by not being present in their life? I'm always asking myself these questions. Like, I don't know if I'm doing the right or the wrong thing. And I go with my best judgment for the family as opposed for the self, and to see how that works while continuing to develop me. But you do ask a lot of those questions, and I never thought it would be that difficult. I thought it would be obvious, but it's not so much all the time.
Talk about division of labor in the household and what the kids observe regarding division of labor between mom and dad.
It's super traditional. It is. My wife is a great cook, so she cooks, and I liked your story about that. I was like, I wanted to eat. My wife, she cooks. She does the laundry. She tends to the house more often than I tend to mowing the lawn, making sure the outside's good, the vehicles, things like that. And they see that. They also see I can grill, I can cook if I need to. And there are times where the wife will be outside and she's putting the mulch down and she's doing some landscaping as well. So they see that we have what we're good at, and it's complementary because while she's taking care of the home, I'm free to go do these things. But if need be, so my wife is a realtor. If she's got to go on a call, well, guess what? I can swoop in, I can make dinner, I can do these things. It's just not traditionally what I would do. But they see that I have to have the skill set as well as a man.
Are you running into men who don't have children here at the Patriarch convention? Are there men who don't have kids who want to have kids?
There are more than I thought there would be.
Really?
Yeah.
Because that's how we marketed it. We said, it's for fathers and those that want to be fathers. So there's a large want to be father contingency here.
There's quite a few. And I didn't know what the allure, because I thought it would be all fathers. We're going to talk about parenting.
Yeah.
And these guys are like, I want to start out right. I was like, whoa. I understood the marketing aspect of it. I understood why we were opening up, because you're starting out on the right foot.
Yeah.
You have all these men who've lived it are going to help you not fall in the pitfalls we've all fallen into. I thought that was pretty cool.
What is the biggest lesson that you've learned from, let's say, an older father, someone whose children are now adults?
So Texas Dom is a mentor of mine, and his son was in sports. There's a lot of overlap between him and I and our families, and he's taught me so much about how the way you do things, your children, A, are always watching them, but B, doing one thing wrong isn't going to screw them up for life. Just fix it. If I'm like, hey, I lost my temper and I yelled at my son for doing something I told him not to do. He's like, look, it's not the end of the world. Like, you got to stop being so hard on yourself. So it's good to see those who can, A, help you avoid falling in the pitfall, but B, not be so tough on, I get you're a dad, but you make mistakes too.
Yeah. How can people find you? How can people find more about you and your work?
My blog is thefamilyalpha.com. I'm on Twitter too much at HunterDrewTFA. That's the majority of it. I have the Fraternity of Excellence, which is the brotherhood that I created with Craig James. And it's similar to what we have here with the Patriarchs, a bunch of men coming together to talk about being better at what it is we're doing and getting to where it is we want to go.
Excellent. Hunter Drew from the Family Alpha. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.